Hey there friends, my name is Melissa Mortensen of polkadotchair.com and welcome to my channel. As you can see, if you've been following me for a little bit here, you'll notice I have a slightly different setup today than I normally do. I'm still in my sewing room. If you're curious to know where things are, my sewing table is right over here where my sewing machine is, and I usually film most of my YouTube tutorials. But today I thought, you know what, let's try something different. I've been on YouTube for a few years now, and as I love making tutorials and teaching you guys how to do things, but I thought you guys might like a little kind of behind the scenes peek into what my typical week is like. Just for background, I run a quilting and sewing blog, polkadotchair.com, and then I design fabric for Riley Blake Designs, and along with designing fabric, I design sewing and quilt patterns to coordinate with those. I usually release 1 or 2 collections with Riley Blake a year, so right now I'm working on a collection for late 2026, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm usually working a year, 18 months, sometimes even 2 years ahead of schedule, so I don't always get to share everything that I'm working on with you guys, and I thought it might be kind of fun to actually share some of the things that I'm working on. If this goes well and I don't completely freak out and regret it 5 minutes after I post this, hopefully this will be a weekly thing and I can kind of check in on Monday and just show you some of the things that I'm sewing, things that are inspiring me, just very simple, kind of a casual chat, like if I was able to invite you guys up to my sewing room with me. So I have 3 things I want to talk with you guys about today. So the first is new products that we have in the shop. The second thing is some spring quilt pattern ideas, and then the third thing are some sneak peeks of some test blocks I'm making for a quilt pattern that is coming out in June. Also, I don't know how eagle-eyed you guys are. You might have spotted our mascot back there. Hopefully he behaves himself. His name is Kingsley. He is a Brittany and he is about 8 or 9 years old. So we'll just see how this goes. If not, maybe next time he'll have to stay downstairs. But this is his favorite spot. His favorite thing in the whole world is usually I get up in the morning and I answer emails in the morning, kind of go through my breakfast routine, morning routine, have breakfast, get ready for the day, and then after lunch come up here and work, and he gets so excited. This is kind of, if you can't tell, this is kind of like the attic-y room in my house. He waits by the stairs, and his favorite thing to do is while I am up here sewing, he loves to just lounge on that couch. I have purchased for him a dog bed to put on the couch because I also like to lounge on the couch if I need a break while I'm working and stuff during the day, and I don't have having dog hair all over me. So I bought a dog bed for him to go on the couch so that I could take the dog bed off and then I could sit on the couch, but he just comes over and just kicks it off. He just wants the full couch. So as you can tell, we are not great disciplinarians when it comes to dogs, but he is a great dog that usually doesn't need too much discipline anyway. So, okay, got a little off track there. First thing is I want to talk about some of the new stuff that is coming to the shop. So you guys have told me over and over again, I've been blogging since 2007, that you want more physical items in the shop, like fabric and printed patterns, like things that come in the mail to you. And so I thought, you know what, this year, let's do it. Let's do it, but let's try and do it in an organized way that I don't feel like it's crazy, but you guys know what to expect from me. So I came up with the idea of doing a monthly product drop. So I'm calling it Polka Dot Drops because why not? Because it's Polka Dot Chair. And every month on the first of the month, you'll find a selection of new products in the shop. And of these products, I'm hoping that every month we'll have some sort of quilt kit. It won't always be a big quilt. Some of them will be pillows or table runners, and so that way it kind of allows us price range wise to kind of do some quicker, less expensive projects, but then also for those of you, maybe some months you want to take on a bigger project. We've got bigger projects for you too. We're going to drop those in the shop on the first of the month, and then I'll follow up here with a video tutorial showing you how to make part of the project. So I want to introduce you to our first project, the April drop, and it is the Cat Dash Quilt pattern. So let's grab the quilt. So part of the reason I am in a different spot in here is that you can see I have crazy like low weird ceilings in here, and this is like the spot of the room where I can stand up straight. Over by my sewing table I can't stand up, and I want to be able to show you as much of this quilt as I can, which you're still not going to be able to see a ton of it because it's just the room's not big enough. But there you can see this is the pattern, and this pattern is designed, the idea that I had behind this was I wanted something that was easy for you guys to buy supplies for. So I do have kits that I'll talk about, but if you want to just buy the pattern and not a kit and you want to go to your local quilt shop and shop, I just wanted like a really simple supply list for you. So the supply list for this quilt is very straightforward. It is a 2.5 inch pre-cut roll. And if you're not familiar with this is 42.5 inch pieces of fabric. I can't remember how much yardage this is, but you'd be surprised how much yardage this is. And this fabric is pre-cut in 2.5 inch strips, which is going to save you so much time when you're putting your quilt together. And most all quilt shops, online quilt shops, in like brick and mortar quilt shops will carry some version of these in all different colors. So all of the white fabric in this quilt is made from one of these 2.5 inch rolls. And then for the rest of the quilt, the project, it takes 6 1/2 yard cuts of fabric. And so that's 3 yards of fabric total, and included in those 6 yard cuts is your binding. So you're going to have your binding fabric in there too. It doesn't have backing fabric because that's just so much personal preference with backing fabric. We're not doing backing fabric in the kits. But let me show you what is in the kit. And then, like I said, if you don't want the kit, or we sell out of the kits, I think we're down to less than like 3 or 4 of the, we have 3 different colors. We're down to less than 3 or 4 of the pink and white ones, but I do have the other colors. But anyway, if we sell out and you want to go to the store and shop, then it also kind of gives you an idea of what to buy. So the fabric in the pink and white kit, you can see, I'm hoping the camera is like focusing for you because this is, like I said, it's all new for me. But this fabric is from my Chloe and Friends collection with Riley Blake that came out a few years ago. As designers, they send us bolts of fabric and we can purchase extra bolts of fabric. So I bought extra bolts of fabric of this, kind of meaning to cut it up and list it in the shop, and I never did. And I thought, you know what, if I'm going to list it, let's do it in a way that you guys get the fabric, then you know what to make with it. So this is the pink kit, which is the one that's like the example. And then I have another kit in kind of pinks and white and black and gray. I'm trying to hold that up so you can see it. So those are the 6 half yard cuts in the pink and black kit. And the reason this one is the one that comes with the black 2.5 inch pre-cut roll, and the reason for that is there's so much white fabric in here that if you made one of these cat quilt blocks from this white fabric, you would just lose it in the quilt. So the black background on that will just really let all of these lighter colored fabrics pop. And then I have and then the third one, for those of you that are more like the blues and aquas and not so much the pinks, there is a little pop of pink in here, is this aqua and white kit. And this one comes with the white 2.5 inch roll, just like the pink and white one. Also in your kit, you're gonna find a little kind of surprise sticker. It says pins and needles and cat naps. That comes with your kit, coordinates with the quilt. And then I do have a printed pattern. It's not like formally printed, it's a printout of the pattern. And depending on which kit you buy, you'll have a different cover. So the aqua kit will show you the aqua quilt so that you'll know how to lay out, you know, how I chose to pick my fabrics for the blocks in the kit, but then you guys can mix and match however you want. It's just a suggestion, but it does come with a color specific cover to kind of help you out with that. The kits are in the shop. It's shop.polkadotchair.com. We do still have the aqua and the pink and black. We're very low on the pink and white. Unfortunately, I can't restock those just because it's out of print, but like I said, you can get the pattern and use, I love sewing with fabric that I already own, so you definitely could use something that you have in your stash already. And then I just thought I would share, so the back of what I put, because I always like to know what people put on the back of their quilts. So this is a wide back fabric from Riley Blake Designs, and it's by Janet Wecker Frisch. And I will double check the exact SKU and like product number and product line that it's from, but I just think it was like such a cute back for this fun pink and white quilt. Okay, so that is the new stuff in the shop. I've already designed and cut and made the samples for the May kits, which will launch on May 1st. I will tell you the May kit is a pillow, and I think I'm really excited about that one. Like, I hope you guys really like it because I'm really excited about the design of that one. So, but I will share with you more on that in May with our like weekly chats. So, all right, we need a drink. So I live in Louisville, Kentucky. We had a really long winter, very uncharacteristic for us. We've had a really wet spring. It's been really crazy weather, but I feel like finally, like this, like today, the sun's out. I feel like maybe spring is coming. And last week on the blog, I shared a blog post with 20 ideas for quilt patterns perfect for spring. If you're not familiar with the blog, it's polkadotchair.com, and every Wednesday I have a new project that's up on the blog. Sometimes it's like idea posts, like fun things to sew for spring, and sometimes it's full tutorials. Got a whole big list of 12-inch quilt block patterns on there that you can print, so go check it out. But this last Wednesday, I thought, you know what, let's talk about, I love to sew in season. I know sometimes that's not super popular because if you want to have your quilt project done by the season you're sewing in, then you don't always get it done. But when it's spring, I love to sew with spring fabric. So I thought I would share with you guys a few ideas. I think one of these other vlogs, I need to do all of my unquilted quilt tops, which honestly could take about like 2 hours to do like a trunk show with it all. But anyway, so this is the first one. It's not quilted yet. I have a very specific purpose for this in mind. I'm going to start quilting it this week, but I'll show it to you and then we'll talk a little bit about it. This quilt pattern is a freebie on my site. It's called Gathered Pre-Cuts. It's linked in that blog post that's going to be in the description. And it is made with a 10-inch stacker of fabric, or like a layer cake, and some extra yardage. And so this is just like if you go to your quilt shop or you're shopping online and you find like a fabric collection that you love, but you don't know what to do with it, I think this is a great pattern for that because it is so fast to make because you're just literally cutting the 10-inch square pieces in half, sewing them with some other squares. There's a little more math involved in that, but like I said, you've got a printout on the site that you can grab. This one was made with my Tulip Cottage fabric collection, which came out last year. And like I said, just fun idea, quick project. If you just are like, I need something springy and bright in my home, or I need a gift, this is a great freebie project for that. And then another one that is also not quilted yet. I do have a long arm quilter like machine, which I'm glad I got because I'm always working on a deadline, like with Quilt Market and pattern releases and stuff. But at the same time, I do kind of miss being able to send the quilts out and have someone else do it because it just kind of adds to my to-do list. So I have a giant basket here of quilts that need to be quilted. But anyway, so this one was my, I'll hold it up first. So this one was my 2024 Patreon group quilt. We made it in the Patreon group last year. there's 24 blocks or 20 blocks. We made 2 blocks a month and then had a month for the finishing instructions to put it together. This with these pinks and greens and the bright colors, I just think is like just screams spring to me. I need to get it quilted because my mother-in-law has this amazing garden and she has peonies, like so many peonies that are pink, and they would be so pretty to photograph, this quilt with the pink peonies. So I need to make sure I get it quilted so that we can photograph it with the pink peonies. And I'm going to show you, I actually didn't plan on showing you this, but I have it right here, the background fabric, the backing fabric I picked for this quilt. It is, I actually bought a bold because I liked it so much. It is by Liberty of London, and it is the Lanesby collection, and it's called Proud Peacocks. And I can't believe I like the color. Look how cute that's gonna be, that color match on that. I'm so excited. So this is on my to-do list within the next 2 weeks to get this quilted and bound so it's ready to photograph when all of her gorgeous flowers pop. So that's one idea for a pattern. And if you weren't in the Patreon group, you can on Patreon purchase the pattern by itself without joining. And have it emailed to you. So this one is a pattern that you can buy. I'll put the link to the Patreon group in there too so that you've got it. I'm not doing a very good job folding these up. I might have to get an assistant. Actually, I have an assistant. I hired my very first employee, so it's actually pretty exciting and very, very scary at the same time to do that, to get someone, like, you know, you need help, but also taking that step can be a little bit scary. So anyway, maybe next time I'll have my trusty assistant. She's not really an assistant, she's actually a project manager, so, but maybe she still would be nice enough to help me with some projects. So then the other quilt pattern that I think is so cute for spring, I have it in 2 colorways and 2 sizes for you to see. There is a baby quilt size with this fun blue. The blue on this is called Denim, and it is Sparkler by Riley Blake, which is my basics collection with Riley Blake. And then this also comes, the pattern also comes in a lap size. So here is the lap size. And I know I can't get like the whole quilt in the frame, but I will like drop pictures in for you guys. And let me show you this one up close so you can see. This is the sandy kind of color. It's actually called Beach. It's also Sparkler by Riley Blake. And one of the interesting things about, so there's actually a couple things about this quilt pattern. First, there are a bunch of videos here on my YouTube channel showing you how to piece these tulip blocks. So if you purchase the pattern, I'll walk you through step by step how to put the blocks together. And then the other thing is all of the flower petals on this quilt are made from a 10-inch pre-cut stack of fabric. So you get, I love to design quilts that work with pre-cuts. It just saves so much time. Plus I like to use lots of different kind of colors and fabrics and prints in my quilts. And so it allows me to get, in this case, 24 different prints of fabric in this quilt. So you get a really fun variety of tulips. And I'll link this quilt pattern also in the description down here, and I'll put, I think I can put a link up here in YouTube to the videos to it too. So if you purchase it, that you can go in and benefit from those videos walking you through the steps how to make the quilt. So let me put this up here. So the last thing I thought I would share with you guys today is a little bit of what I am working on behind the scenes. I have a fabric collection coming out with Riley Blake in June, and I am working on getting the final details of the quilt pattern done. And part of the process of writing a quilt pattern is making lots and lots of test blocks. It may seem straightforward. I will usually like print out the block and draw it and do the measurements. And then I'm like, oh, this is so straightforward. I can just like sew this block. It's going to be just right. And then of course I sew it and realize I should have made this piece bigger. I should have made this one smaller. If I combine these two pieces, it's less cutting. I'm just always trying to get down to like the most efficient way to put a quilt block together, because sometimes like too many pieces in a block is just too many pieces for me. So I thought I would share a sneak peek of some of the test blocks I've been working on this week. I'm a little bit stressed about these, only because the deadline is fast approaching, that I need to get these patterns off to the printers so that they can get to the distributors to get to you guys in time to sew with the fabric when it comes in June. But I'm going to share some of the blocks. Actually, I'm going to share this one last because I have a question. Okay, so this is, so first of all, I've got these fun working on. I did a derby collection several years ago, and I wanted to do another kind of Kentucky related one, but not necessarily derby. So this one is just kind of equestrian themed with lots of bright, colorful florals that kind of represent all of the great, like how beautiful the state is to live in. So here is another of the blocks. This was a little house on the farm. And then I've got the barn block. And I did like, so which brings me to my question I ask you guys that are longtime quilters. So if you're familiar with Kentucky, you know we have this horse fencing everywhere. So part of the quilt are these horse fence blocks. I have two quilts actually that use them. Each of these pieces is small. It's like a 1/2 inch once it's sewn. So if you're a quilter, you know there's two ways to do this. You can sew a bunch of 1-inch pieces of fabric together, or you can foundation paper piece this. I foundation paper piece this, and I am so happy with how it came out. Sometimes when you sew like narrow pieces of fabric together and you go to press them, as hard as you try to keep everything straight, your lines end up wonky. And I'm just worried with this block that if I write it for 1-inch strips of fabric that you guys sew, that it's gonna be so hard for you to get a straight line that you're not gonna be happy with it. But then also I'm worried that if I make this whole thing foundation paper piece, those of you that hate foundation paper piecing are gonna be very intimidated. So I know it's one of those like, I'm gonna like there's no way to make everybody happy in this situation, but I'm kind of thinking as a designer, go with my gut and make it foundation paper piece. But I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are, especially those of you that frequently will piece things that have smaller pieces like this. I usually try and stick with larger pieces when I quilt, just to avoid that kind of thing. And then I have a couple more test blocks made for another quilt pattern. It's called Bluegrass Crossing. And I just think that these came out so cute. I'm so excited to get this quilt put together. I'm making it because I want it. So there are those couple of test blocks for that quilt. Like I said, the patterns will be out in June, but I thought you guys might like just a fun little behind the scenes of what I'm working on. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and this can be a regular theme here on my channel. I know I get very excited, so I'm sure I'm probably pretty pink right now and maybe a little bit sweaty, but it was fun to try something new, different point of view in my sewing room, different way to kind of connect with you guys too. So I love to hear, what you think about this stuff that I shared. If you have any questions about anything, I'll link to the kits in the description here. And if you enjoyed this, I would love it if you would like and subscribe and share it with your friends. And we will see you again next Monday.